For almost 10 years, fans were told this was just a random online scam, a lonely woman, and a cruel internet trick. But what if that story was only the surface? What if the timing, the access, and the betrayals were not accidental at all? Because when you follow the timeline, something disturbing appears. Private conversations that should never have leaked, inside connections that should not have existed, and one person who lost everything while someone else gained it all. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will see the catfishing scandal in a completely different way. Cody was asked a simple question, one that should have had a clear answer. Did it ever feel like a line was crossed? And what followed was hesitation, confusion, deflection. He said he didn't really know what was happening, that he felt lost, that communication with Mary had already broken down long before anything came to light. And that moment right there is where this entire story quietly begins. Because while Cody claims confusion, Mary was living through something that would change her life forever. Something that fans now believe may not have been random at all. For nearly a decade, viewers of Sister Wives have debated, argued, analyzed, and theorized about what really happened during the infamous catfishing scandal. But only recently have new revelations given those suspicions a sharper edge. Because this was not just about an online deception, this was about trust, timing, vulnerability, and alleged betrayal from inside the family itself. And when you lay out the sequence of events piece by piece, the picture that forms is impossible to ignore. In early 2015, Mary Brown was emotionally isolated. She had just sacrificed her legal marriage, believing it was an act of love and loyalty. She believed her role as first wife still carried meaning. She believed promises that her place in the family would remain secure. But emotional security does not survive on belief alone. And shortly after that sacrifice, she connected online with someone who called himself Sam Cooper. He appeared successful, attentive, validating everything she felt she had lost. He seemed to see her in a way she had not felt seen in years. And at first, the interaction felt harmless, friendly, supportive. But loneliness has a way of blurring boundaries, especially when someone feels invisible inside their own marriage. The conversations deepened, the emotional reliance grew, and over time, Mary began confiding things she had never felt safe enough to say out loud, about her marriage, about her pain, about her fear of being replaced. And that emotional openness became the doorway through which manipulation entered. The situation escalated quickly. Daily communication, long phone calls, private messages, and eventually deeply personal expressions of affection, all built on the belief that Sam was real. And here is where the story turns unsettling, because Mary did not navigate this alone. She confided in someone she trusted, someone inside the family structure, someone she believed was her ally, Robin. Mary has now confirmed that she shared details of this online connection with Robin, believing she was seeking guidance, friendship, and support. But what Mary later realized shattered that trust. Information she shared in confidence somehow found its way beyond those private conversations. Details she had not made public were reflected back to her through the catfish, as if someone else was feeding that information into the situation. And that realization created a haunting question. How did the person behind the screen know so much? And this is where timing becomes everything, because this was not just any moment in Mary's life. This was right after she had legally stepped aside, right after Robin became the legal wife, right after the family hierarchy shifted in a way that left Mary emotionally exposed and vulnerable. And as months passed, the illusion collapsed. Sam was not real, the identity unraveled, and Mary learned that she had been interacting with Jackie Overton, an individual with a documented pattern of online deception. But even then, the story did not end, because Jackie was not alone in maintaining the illusion. Another figure appeared, Lindsay, who claimed to be connected to Sam and who met Mary in person, reinforcing the belief that Sam existed, promising meetings that never happened, and maintaining control through fear and intimidation. And when the truth finally surfaced, the fallout was devastating. Private messages, voicemails, and photos became public, not by Mary's choice, but as part of the exposure, and the narrative that followed painted her not as a victim of manipulation, but as someone who had betrayed the family emotionally. That framing mattered because it allowed others to step back, withdraw sympathy, and assign blame. And from that point forward, Mary's position within the family changed permanently. She was no longer viewed with empathy, she was viewed with suspicion, and the emotional distance between her and Cody hardened into something colder and more final. And for years, Mary carried that weight largely in silence. But what is changing now is context, because Mary has begun to speak about what she believes happened behind the scenes, about how private conversations were leaked, about how trust was broken, and about how certain individuals benefited from the outcome. And when you examine who gained stability, favor, and security after the scandal, the answer is uncomfortably clear. The legal marriage remained intact, favoritism became normalized, and Mary was effectively sidelined. And when fans look back, they do not just see a woman who was deceived online. They see a sequence of events that removed one wife from influence and consolidated power elsewhere. And the deeper you look, the harder it becomes to accept coincidence as the explanation. What makes this story linger in the minds of viewers is not just what happened, but how perfectly everything aligned to produce a specific outcome. Because after the scandal, Mary did not just lose trust, she lost voice, she lost standing, and she lost the benefit of the doubt. And that silence allowed a single narrative to dominate for years, one where Mary was framed as the cause rather than the casualty. But behind the scenes, another name kept surfacing quietly, consistently: Tendra, a close friend and associate of Robin, someone who publicly vouched for the legitimacy of Sam, someone who claimed to have verified his existence through video communication. And that endorsement mattered because it eliminated Mary's remaining doubts. It gave credibility to something that otherwise might have unraveled sooner. And Kendra was not a distant acquaintance. She was connected socially, publicly, and professionally to Robin, which means the trust she carried was not neutral, it was borrowed trust. And after the truth emerged, relationships shifted suddenly. The family cut ties with Kendra, distanced themselves, and moved on without explanation, which only fueled speculation, because why sever that connection so completely unless there was concern about involvement? And the situation grew more confusing when Kendra later aligned herself publicly with Jackie, continuing to insist that the identity Mary believed in had been real. And that alignment raised more questions than answers, because loyalty after exposure suggests shared interest, not coincidence. And throughout all of this, Mary remained largely quiet, absorbing the blame, enduring years of emotional distance from Cody, who repeatedly referenced the scandal as justification for disengagement. And the emotional punishment extended far beyond the incident itself, because even as Mary sought therapy, reconciliation, and accountability, the narrative never shifted. The event became a permanent stain, something that could always be referenced whenever closeness was requested. And over time, viewers began noticing the imbalance, how accountability was demanded from Mary, but empathy was withheld, how her vulnerability was framed as betrayal, while emotional neglect was rarely examined. And now, years later, as Mary speaks more openly, she is not making explosive accusations. She is describing experiences, patterns, and realizations, and leaving the audience to connect the dots. She has said plainly that private conversations were shared without her consent, that trust was broken, and that realization changed how she viewed everything that followed. And when you layer that admission over the timeline, the endorsements, the connections, and the outcome, it creates a picture that feels coordinated, even if every detail cannot be proven definitively. And that distinction matters, because responsible commentary does not declare guilt. It examines probability, it evaluates motive, and it acknowledges patterns. And the pattern here is that one person lost everything while another gained stability, influence, and exclusive access. And whether intentional or opportunistic, the effect was the same. Mary was isolated and neutralized, and as years passed, the family structure collapsed anyway. Christine left, Janelle left, and eventually Mary left too, each choosing independence over emotional scarcity. And now the irony is unavoidable. The very event that may have been used to consolidate control ultimately exposed deeper fractures that could not be repaired. And today, Mary is rebuilding her life outside of that narrative, reclaiming agency, telling her story on her terms, and asking viewers to reconsider what they thought they knew. And this is why the conversation has returned, not because of gossip, but because time has provided clarity, distance, and courage. And when someone who once stayed silent begins to speak, the most important thing we can do is listen, not to sensationalize, but to understand how power dynamics, emotional vulnerability, and trust can intersect in ways that leave lasting damage. And as viewers revisit the footage, the interviews, and the timelines, they are no longer just watching a reality show. They are re-examining a decade of consequences and asking whether the truth was always hiding in simple sight. What makes this story linger isn't just what happened, but what it changed. Because once trust is broken inside a family, nothing ever goes back to the way it was. And years later, the truth is finally being spoken, not to rewrite history, but to understand it. And whether you believe this was coincidence or coordination, one thing is undeniable. One woman carried the blame, while others moved on. And now that silence is gone, the question is no longer what happened back then, but why it took so long for the truth to surface.